welcome to another episode of Question and Answer. I am Kristen.
And I'm Jessie.
We are starting a super fun series on the channel. We are going to have some of our amazing agents here at We Do Travel Right come on the show and talk to you guys about what they do best and answer all of the questions that you ask about travel destinations, traveling with kids, traveling alone, all of the questions that we get. This is what we do best. And so we're bringing it to you. So we are so excited to welcome Molly Sweeney. She is our agent today. She is going to be talking to us all about Disney Cruise Line, which is so hot right now. You have the Treasure that just started sailing at the end of the year. You have the Destiny sailing at the end of the year. We were just talking about before we hit record, so many European and Alaskan itineraries coming out. So she's going to talk to us all about that. And then we are going to make sure we put her contact information in here if you'd like to talk to her more or get a quote from her. She's your gal. So without further ado, before we really get into it, Molly, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where do you reside? Where's your favorite travel destination? How long have you been an agent? Give us the
favorite Disney character.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for having me on, first of all. I'm so excited. I love you both. And fun fact, we met on a Disney cruise for the first time. So that just makes it even more special.
Honestly.
So I live in South Jersey, right outside of Philadelphia, like 25 minutes outside of the city. I know Kristen's from up here too. So
I'm a Jersey girl.
I'm born and raised in the area, so have always been here. More recently, though, I keep getting the question of whether I live in Florida because I have been making a lot of trips. So I do not live in Florida. No plans to at this point in time, but I do spend a fair amount of time there. So I'll get on the migration train with Kristen over here. So I've been an agent with We Do Travel Right for over 2 years now. I'm just starting my 3rd year as an agent. And I started on our dining team, actually dining and experience team. And so then I worked my way up to be an assistant, and I was an assistant for the lovely Nikki Salinas, who
I love her.
Is our agency's DCL queen. She's amazing. So I learned so much just helping her with her clients and building that out. So it became a passion of mine too.
I love that.
I work with DCL. So that's about me and the agency. Favorite Disney character? I've been a big fan of Donald. Actually, really since seeing him on a Disney cruise ship because his outfit is so cute.
So everyone knows Goofy's my number one, and then, Baymax is a close second. But Donald he's just been rising up to the occasion, honestly.
I've always been a straight Mickey girl, and it's just Donald.
Donald is just so funny and so floofy, and then he shakes his butt at you and you're like, wow, I love you.
So much character. So much character.
Yeah, I love him.
So yeah, that's about me. But I book other things. I book Disney World, Disneyland, obviously Disney Cruise Line, and also Universal are my main things that I focus on, as well as some European trips as well.
I love that so much. Okay, so did you tell us how long you've been an agent for? 3 years.
Yes. 2.
2 years. See, I was I forgot about that already. But yes, let's talk about the ships, because we've gotten so many questions about how many ships there are, which ships are which, what is better for what, how many are they, what are they called, and kind of give us some of that information.
Yeah, and it's getting hard to track now because they
honestly
are pumping them out. For the longest time, it was 4 ships. They started with the Disney Magic and then the Disney Wonder,
which I still want to go on, even though they're the old babies. I still want to go on the OGs. Show me what they first looked like. And I know some of them have gone refurbed now a little bit here and there, but I want to go. I don't care.
And from what I've heard too, I have not been on either. The Magic is kind of on my to-do list right now for exactly that reason.
Yeah.
But I've heard that the vibe is so good because it's so small. Yeah. And especially a lot of people will purposely book that so that there's less people on the ship. So when you get to the private islands like Castaway, you have less people to interact with.
That is a hot take. I love that. That's that's a good idea. Yeah.
So you get, refurbished ship, one of the originals, but also a little extra added benefit.
I love that.
Yeah. So we started with those two. They're the first class of sister ships. And then came the Dream and the Fantasy, which really are fan favorites. Everybody loves them. I think they were the newest big deal for so long.
Yeah. And I don't understand why they're fan favorites, but I also have only been on those two ships.
Yeah, I've only been on
me,
Dream,
like,
so.
Yeah, I've done Dream and Fantasy, and that's the thing. Like, everyone's like, "Oh my god, these are my favorite," and I'm like, "Those are the ones I've been on." So like, I don't have anything else to compare it to when it comes to Disney Cruise Line. Do you have any idea why it's people's favorites, or it's just because?
I think it's like cozy.
Okay.
So my first ship was the Wish.
Okay.
That was my first experience. So it was not its inaugural season, but the year after. And you know, it's beautiful, it's fancy, you know, it's all the new bells and whistles, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
About it's lovely. But then when we went on the Dream, it just, Emily described it to me as it's like putting on your favorite comfy sweatshirt.
Okay.
Casual, and you know, you can get dressed up if you want. You can stay, you know, casual and dress down for dinners, or, you know, it's very much not over the top and in your face, but it's got a great layout. Everybody loves the layout of it. It's very easy to navigate. Everything on those two ships are in almost exactly the same place. And so when I went on the Fantasy this past year, after our trip on the Dream, it was kind of funny because my parents were asking me like, "Oh, where are we going to? Like, which, you know, where's this bar or lounge that we're going to?" And I was like, "Oh, it's just around the corner to the right." And they're like, "You just got on the ship. Like, how do you know this?"
How do you know that?
It just like it kind of comes naturally. Like the flow of it is good. And a lot of people just like that there's more space in different areas, and it's just kind of classic. So don't sleep on the Dream or the Fantasy. They are.
Oh no, the Dream's my favorite, but again, I only have the Dream and the Fantasy to compare, and they're sister ships, so you know. But I do prefer the Dream over the Fantasy.
Which is a hot take, because usually people say the Fantasy is the one.
The Fantasy is usually the more.
So I know, but like, why?
What gets it for you? Is it the chandelier? Because I kind of like the chandelier in the Dream. A little bit edges out the Fantasy for me.
Okay, so I like the chandelier in the Dream way better. Also, my biggest thing was the ice cream shop.
I knew she was going to say this.
That's true. She does love that ice cream shop.
I love that ice cream shop. I was looking for my car. I actually think it's in the bathroom out there. But the cars, like, they have ice cream cars because it's Vanellope's ice cream shop. Like, it's so cool where the Fantasy is just a Mickey and Minnie ice cream shop. Like, I can get that at Magic Kingdom. It's nothing special. When I went on the Fantasy, I didn't even like go in there and get a Mickey bucket because it's the same Mickey bucket that I can get at a park. I was like, why do people like this better?
She was on this cruise like for her birthday with her husband, who was her fiance at the time. And she was sending me like text messages. She was so mad about
I was like, Kristen, this is supposed to be
vacation. And she's like, no.
It's like, supposed to be Vanellope. They're sister ships. Give me a fun ice cream shop. But no, it's just Minnie and Mickey. And I was like,
and all the new ships have been following in tow from the Dream. So
I know they're doing fun stuff. Like, give me something different that I'm not going to find anywhere else. Like, Minnie and Mickey on the Fantasy. Really? That's what you gave me? Come on.
Not over it yet, guys. She's still mad.
No, I'm not because my husband never got to see it, and I'm like, okay, I'll take you on the Dream. I mean, I'll take you on the Dream if I have to.
We just got to get you to Jumbo's treats on the Treasure.
Yeah. I also need to go on the Wish because I need the Bing Bong bucket.
The Wish is that again my first experience. That was really
Kristen,
cool.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I've seen it.
He's like the Bing Bong. He has like his own little ice cream sundae. So cute. I need it.
It's cool. But the theming is just awesome on all the ships. So when you think about those two, like since those two came out around the same time, they have similar buffets. The Cabana's Cafe is the same. The food courts on the pool deck are similar. Flows, which I love. I'm a huge Cars fan, so I saw Flows. That and I was like,
so
this
cute,
is amazing.
Yeah.
And one thing that really sets apart the Dream and Fantasy for me is the adults only area, which you know you might not think. Oh, if you're going as a family, you might not think that that's that important, but when your kids ditch you for the kids club, you're going to want to spend a lot of time in the adults only area. So it's big, it's spread out. There's plenty of seating, great pool, swim up bar. Awesome. So
agreed.
Definitely there. And then, I mean, I'm not knocking on the Wish class of ships that are coming because there's, as Kristen said, there's so many new and exciting things. The Wish is always going to have a special place. I think that happens too, where when you have your first sailing, that like just sticks with you and is special, which could be why the Dream and Fantasy might have been a lot of people's first sailings too.
Yeah.
So.
True.
But yeah, so the Wish is just stunning. You get on there, you walk into the atrium, and there's just no words for it. It's a beautiful ship. The Cinderella's, theming and the mosaics around are just amazing. The rooms are renovated, not even renovated, made beautifully, upgraded showers and things like that.
I love that.
There's just so many, the details in everything Disney does is just taken to the next level on a Disney cruise. It's really impressive.
I love that so much. And then for the new ones that are coming out, the Treasure just came out, and then the Destiny is coming out. You said you are going on both of those this year, right?
I am, unexpectedly.
I love that.
Family trip decided on the Treasure. So we're doing a 7-night Eastern Caribbean. So we're going to go to the Virgin Islands.
I know.
So that'll be really wonderful. And then my friend talked to me and didn't have to twist my arm hard.
Talked you into it.
But she was like, ooh, she's a big Hercules fan. So she saw that show was coming on there and the theming and everything. And she's, well, twist my arm. Sure, let's go on the Destiny. Like, I think 4 sailings in. So yeah, this is my Disney Cruise Line era that I'm living in right now.
I love that so much for you.
I'm upset about it.
When is the Destiny's inaugural sale? Is it November of this year or December?
November. Yeah, I think it's November. And we will see plenty about it, I know, because Jamie is booked on the inaugural sailing.
Yeah,
amazing.
So. Yes, one of our agents, she was like, I booked it thinking like, oh, if I don't want to go, like, then it's fine. I'll just like get my deposit back. And then she found out that you cannot get your deposit back on inaugural sale. So she's like, guess we're going.
So she's taking one for the team. So now all of our agents know, and we won't have that problem with our clients.
Exactly. That's what makes it so special here. We do travel, right? You just have people volunteering to sacrifice themselves as tribute for the cruises. Yeah, exactly.
So funny. And then you said for your friend with the Destiny, her kind of deciding factor on the Destiny was she loved Hercules. What do you think are some other deciding factors for some other people when it comes to like deciding your ship or your itinerary? Do you have any advice for that for some people?
Absolutely. So I think, families or adults, whoever it may be, everybody has their favorite characters and
always
themes and stuff like that. So I think it's important, maybe not the most important thing, but we're talking about the shows that they offer, the theming of the rooms, especially if you have little ones that are, if they're set on a character, that could be a nice touch. The general theming of the ship, because each ship has the characters that are in the atrium, the characters that are on the bow of the ship. So, those things might come.
Characters on the merchandise.
Yes, exactly. You have more opportunities that way. The merch. We're all 3 of us here are merch girl.
We are.
We do our shopping especially on a cruise.
Oh yeah.
That's important. I think the dining experiences are really important too. The rotational dining. So each ship's going to have 3 restaurants that you'll rotate through. So at the very least, if you're on a 3-night sailing, you'll get the opportunity to go to each restaurant once. If let's say you're on a 7-night, they'll repeat throughout the trip in the same order, or sometimes they move it around and it's a random.
I was going to say, like with Animator's Palette on the Dream and Fantasy. So when I did the 7-night Fantasy, we went to Animator's Palette 3 times, but each time is different. So like that's a cool one with that, which I just love. Like our first night was Talk with Crush. Our second night was like animations all around the wall. And then the third night we actually got to draw our own person and it went up on the wall. And I was like, I drew that. It was so cool. And they literally made our drawings.
They animated it live while you were eating. And it's like
eating? What do you mean eating? I was distracted by the walls the whole time. I was like following my dancing character all around. It was so cool.
It's so the Disney magic is alive and well on Disney cruises.
Always.
Yeah. But so it's nice. So you do get the continuity of restaurants on like the sister ships. So you'd have Animator's Palette. On the Wish class, you're always going to have 1923, which is like a little bit more of an upscale, not upscale, but, you know, a little fancier of a night. You know, yeah, you don't have to be fancy at any of these. We went in t-shirts some nights and it was fine, and people do, and other people are dressed like they're going to formal. It just is what it is.
Preference.
Whatever floats your boat. See what I did there?
Yeah. On the Wish, Treasure and Destiny is Worlds of Marvel, which is a really cool theming. So if you have neat. Some people will say, I hear a lot from clients that like, oh, the Wish is like Cinderella ship. It's all princessy. Like, what am I going to do with my boys? And, there's so much. The kids clubs have a whole Star Wars section that is, incredible.
Oh my God, the kids clubs are amazing.
The kids clubs are so cool. Like having a whole Marvel themed restaurant, and Spider-Man runs by. And now on these longer sailings, you're going to have a second night with a different show with Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy. So that's something I'm looking forward to as well. Everything's just done so well. And then on the Wish, you have Arendelle. So it's a Frozen, essentially dinner show.
On Elsa.
Fabulous.
I want to see that so bad. I love Frozen.
Really cute.
It's the live music and everything. Like it's mostly Frozen songs, but just like the music playing in the background. It reminded me of my time in Ireland, honestly. Like just people like playing like folk music in the background.
That's so cute.
It's just extremely talented musicians, of course. I'm really excited to see Plaza de Coco on the Treasure. And the Pride Lands, the Lion King one on the Destiny should be really cool as well, because those are the same format dinner show.
It's going to be so cool. It's going to be like being in Animal Kingdom, watching the Lion King show, but like you're on a cruise at dinner. Like that's going to be so cool.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So excited for you. I can't wait. I'm so jealous.
I love that.
I still can't believe it's happening.
Find that there's more ships that you recommend, like when you're booking for families, as if you're like opposed to booking for like a girls trip or a couple? Like, where do you think each of
kind
them
of sway there?
Where do they wind up landing? Yeah.
That's a great question. I kind of take it by the people I'm talking to, the clients, what their interests are. I wouldn't say I like recommend one ship over the other for families versus girls trip or
is it more like sailing preferences, you would say?
It's more like sailing. It's a lot of times, I'll start with like the length of cruise you're looking at, like how are you trying to fit this in as a vacation? Where do you want to leave out of? The most popular ports for us have been Port Canaveral, which is outside of Orlando, and Fort Lauderdale, since Disney established a port there as well.
Which is beautiful, by the way.
Yeah, and it was super easy to sail out of Fort Lauderdale.
It was so easy.
So easy. And so many more itineraries, because the Destiny is only going to be out of Fort Lauderdale.
Mm-hmm.
At least
and the Dream too, right?
The Dream is exclusively out of Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah,
except
for that one.
Yeah.
When it goes back to Europe in 2026.
Yeah, I need to get on that before then.
Yes. Need to get that
I don't think I'm making it to a Europe cruise anytime soon, but I do want to go on the Dream one more time before it leaves.
Yeah. No, it comes back.
I know, but it takes forever.
It does. It's a long summer.
I know.
It's a long summer.
Long summer.
But yeah, so I think looking at the length of the cruise and then the itinerary too. A big thing right now is, now that Disney has 2 island destinations, do they have a preference? Do they want to go to Disney's Castaway Cay? Do they want to go to Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point? Some itineraries have both, which is just like an all
which
around
is so cool.
The one that I'm doing this summer, it does both. It's 5 nights on the Dream, and it does Castaway and Lookout. So
I have a feeling Jessie is going to be sneaking in your suitcase.
100%.
I've never been on
kids would totally sit on the suitcase and hide me in there. It's fine.
That's amazing, though.
Yeah.
And those itineraries, there's different ones too, and there's some that have like 2 stops at Castaway. you can find like one-offs that they kind of pepper in there, which is nice. Like just if that's, especially for Bahamian sailings, if that's a preference, like sometimes people will have questions about it. Now I'm going to look out for the first time this spring. So for me, you know, I recommended I have a general idea about what it's like and what I've heard from our agents who have gone, but I'm really looking forward to getting there, seeing it myself so that I can advise clients, because I love Castaway and it's so easy to tell them where to go and what to do and how to approach it. So I'm really looking forward to kind of seeing firsthand.
Yeah. My friend who was actually just on it had a really hot take because, you know, we've heard mixed reviews of Lookout versus Castaway. People have their hearts set on Castaway. That's what they know. That's what they love. That's what they want to continue going to. But then you have those other people that are like, Lookout can be a hit or miss. Some people love it and some people are like, this wasn't for me. He was with his husband on vacation and he was like, oh my God, this walk to the boat, to the tram, from the tram to the beach, miserable. But once you get on the beach, he's like, this place is stunning. The water is crystal clear. It's see-through. The characters are easy to get to. The food areas were better. And I was like, did you just say better? And he's like, I prefer Lookout over Castaway. And I went, and I screenshot it and I sent it to Kristen and I said, oh my God, he prefers Lookout over Castaway. Because you don't hear that very often because Lookout's still so new. People are still kind of discovering it. But I was like, wow, that's a really hot take. I'm going to use that for something. Here's my something.
Here it is, right? No, I think that
it's a special place too. Like it's hard. I don't know. As somebody who's only been to Castaway and not Lookout, it's hard to imagine something topping Castaway, right? Like how?
This is what I'm saying.
How is that possible?
It's so in the Disney bubble too, which I think is what makes it so special, is because you're off the ship, right? Like you're not in the ship anymore, like especially on the longer sailings, like, okay, you're off the boat, but you're still completely in the bubble. In fact, the cast members all come off the ship and work stations on the island.
Which is so cool.
It's so cool. Like I saw, you know, cast members that I had been run into at one of the shops, or, you know,
like, you're my bartender.
Yeah. Oh, hey. And they're like,
okay.
I remember you.
Yeah. How's your shift? You good?
Yeah.
You on the ship in 3 hours?
It's just so like inclusive that it's, you know, and you don't have to worry about having, you know, different form of payment or credit card charges because it all goes right to your stateroom.
So nice.
It's very much that bubble. And what I'm looking forward to at Lookout is, I think the culture aspect of it. So you don't have that bubble because like other people live on the island and you know,
there's more bohemian aspect.
It's not a private island. It's a private island destination is how Disney describes it. You know, Disney oversees this area, but there are so many things that you can do and kind of experience the Bahamian culture. And they bring that to you through some of the activities on the island, some of the excursions. Yeah. You can, you know, I think there's much more to do. And I think the longer it's here and people are going, the better it's going to get and the more you're going to hear that, because the experienced cruisers, as much as everybody adores Castaway, it's the same thing every time. You can expect that it's old, reliable, but I think every time you go to Lookout, you can do something new and experience something different.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. Like, I just love that they added that in, and like, I like that it's different, you know, and I'm the type of person that I would want that 2-destination cruise. Like, I want to be able to go to Castaway, get up back on the ship, and then go to Lookout. Like, I would want both of them, because like, I don't think me as a not so seasoned sailor, I mean, I've been on 3 Disney cruises, but you know, 2 dream, 1 fantasy, and I've only been to Castaway. So maybe once I go to Lookout, that'll change my mind, but I don't know if I would ever choose Lookout over Castaway just for like the memory and the feeling and the warm fuzzy aspect, you know. But
that's why I do think that the two stops is kind of clutch, because even as excited as I am for Lookout and getting this new experience, I'm a little sad in May that I'm not going to Castaway. So I have to keep reminding myself, like, don't get excited. You're not going. I mean, I'm still incredibly excited for the whole thing,
but I have to expect,
But it's just like it's so hard for anyone who's not familiar with Disney cruises. Castaway Cay is just incredible. I've never heard somebody say that they don't like it. Oh, I've never heard a bad experience about it.
Whether you want to meet the characters and have a dance party with them or like lay on the beach and do nothing, you can do both. Like it's your own personal preference. Like it's
you could run a 5K. You can Jessie and Jamie could when they were there, remember? And Molly and I were
like, bikes were so much fun.
You Coladas on the beach, but y'all have fun on your bike ride.
Yeah, she was like, goodbye. It was great.
It's really like a choose your own adventure. I'm so excited for my kids to see it and my husband to see it, you know. Jessie will come with us after all. I don't know.
I'll look it up on my computer when we get off of this.
I've never been on a cruise without Jessie, so I'm going to be like with my family, like, who are you people?
Where do I go?
I'm just going to pop up behind you and be like, are you ready to go to dinner?
I'm going to be like, we're here too now.
I love it.
But can you touch on this? Is something that I'm like wanting to do myself. Jessie and I did a Marvel Day at Sea cruise 2 years ago. And that was such a crazy experience. So like one of the things we were talking about wanting to cover eventually for us, for We Do Travel, is like a Pixar Day at Sea or Halloween on the high seas. So like, it's not just you go and it's the same like experience. Like,
yeah, it's funny because my first Disney cruise, my mom actually surprised me for my 20th birthday, and we did go on a Halloween on the high seas. And at the time, I didn't realize that that was like a special event thing. Now looking back on it, I'm like, dang, I should have bought this merchandise and that merchandise, and I should have taken more photos and videos of this. But like, I didn't know. I was just having fun with my friend and my mom. But I'm like, man, that was a specialty thing that I just would like.
You're just all nonchalant about it, like spooky sailing, whatever.
I mean, and I love spooky stuff, which is why my mom booked it. But I was like, I didn't understand that it was like a specialty. You know, I get it now.
No, it's really cool. I really liked it. And it's so cool. Pretty, to a certain extent, pretty predictable, especially the Halloween on the High Seas and Very Merry Time. They typically, like the Halloween on the High Seas will start in mid-September and go through Halloween. Sometimes if the sailing goes into early November, it'll be like that last sailing that's around Halloween.
And then do they do that on all the ships, or is it specific ships?
So most times they do it on, I think it's all. Now I know that might be different with some of the inaugural sailings that are coming. I don't know if, especially we haven't really talked about the Disney Adventure that sails from Singapore, which is a whole thing on itself. But that's new as well. So I don't know that it will always be on all, but for the most part, you can find them on. I've seen sailings in my time as a travel agent on all of the ships, I believe.
So you need to look for a treasure sailing for Halloween for me to get on.
Yeah.
Is what you're telling me.
I mean, we'll look it up right after this. It's
great.
Looking, right?
Add it to your list of things to do.
So how Very Merry Time is on my list. So as you guys are talking, that's for me is like, I want all the Christmas vibes on a cruise. That just sounds like perfection to me. They run from November through the end of December. I'm actually interested to see because the Destiny sailing that I'm going on in December is part of the inaugural series. Don't know. I know like this year, the Treasures inaugural was like right around Christmas. It was almost like too late. I think they might have put a tree up at some point, but they didn't do the full theming.
Right.
Which, like you guys said, it's like all out. Like there's different shows, the characters have different outfits, there's different merch, there's
so cool,
you know, all kinds of decorations up and offerings throughout that is specialty to one of these themed sailings. So I'm fingers crossed that I might get that borderline if they put Very Merry Time.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
We'll see how it goes. If not, I guess next year is another year.
I mean,
or maybe a few years down the line.
Is there a price differential for some of those, or like, is it like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I will say that oftentimes the non-themed ones are a little bit more affordable. But I wouldn't say that it's a crazy difference, like, cause sometimes looking at them, like it's, you know, maybe a couple $100 like difference. And if it's worth it to you to have that theming, or if sometimes the dates just work better. year, with
True.
breaks or, things like that. Whatever travel days you have in mind, some days they work better, and that's just going to work out for you. I think it's the Marvel Day at Sea, and they did the Pixar Day at Sea in like the January to March timing. And those, I think, were pretty evenly priced with the regular sailings.
I want to do a Pixar one so bad.
Yeah, I'm hoping they announce more because the Marvel ones came back, and the Pixar one would be really cool. So
I'm like, where are my Pixar ones? I want it.
Yeah, I didn't hear about. Are there Pixar ones running right now? Sorry, it's got something in my eye there.
I think it's only the Marvel ones for currently for like the January to March time.
So maybe next year.
But they don't, like, for next year, 2026, they won't announce it until like later in the year of what theming they're going to do. So you could, like, today or this past week and into next week are the 2026 sailings are opening for booking right now to Castaway Club members, and then next week to the rest of the public. But you can book a cruise now in that timeline, and like I kind of said about the Destiny, you can, like, you might get a letter from Disney saying, hey, your sailing has been made a Very Maritime, or it's been made a Pixar Day at Sea.
That's cool.
So yeah, so they obviously, sales will spike once people know what it's going to be, but
that's cool. That I didn't know.
Can get turned into one of the themed cruises.
That's neat.
That so actually just like another question is what is the booking timeline that you recommend? So like you're just saying the booking's going to spike if people find out. So like, what do you recommend? Do you give it a year? Do you give it 2 weeks? Like what do you...
2 weeks.
Probably not 2 weeks.
Well, so there's multiple answers to that question.
Yeah.
The best answer is that Disney cruises don't really get cheaper. So, for example, our Silver Castaway Club members can book 2026 sailings that open from May to September of 2026 today. So that before that was unavailable. Now these sailings are open. Booking today is most likely the lowest price point you will see on those staterooms, because as the inventory fills up and it becomes in more demand, the price is going to rise. So to have the best availability, which is like, some people are like, oh, some people are picky about their staterooms and want a certain type on a certain deck. I want a veranda, I want to be midship, and I have to be close, I want to be on deck 10 to be close to the pool deck, and which is great. I mean, we have all the recommendations of that. The agents talk about that stuff all the time. It's a personal preference thing though, and we could talk you through why, what differs deck to deck and things like that.
What helps with motion sickness?
Exactly. Where should you be if you're worried about motion sickness?
Yeah.
We talk about that stuff all the time. My answer is usually deck 6 or 7 midship is great for that. Midship, you don't feel anything. One time the ship sailed away and I didn't know for like 30 minutes. So that was fun.
That's perfect. Great. You're like, oh, all right.
Out the window, I was like, what's happening? That was the first cruise. I got used to it after that. But so the main thing about booking early, it's especially important if you're sailing with multiple parties. So if you're doing an extended family cruise, you can have the connecting staterooms that, so you can set up and know it's not like Disney where you have to request and, hope that you get a connecting room kind of thing. You're in that connecting stateroom, but if you wait too long, the pick is gone and you might be scattered throughout the floor. You might be scattered on other decks because you'd be surprised. Some of these sailings far out, if we were to open a, let's say February 2026 one right now, it's a year away. You think there's plenty of time. At Disney World, there'd be plenty of time, right?
Yeah.
None of those resorts are filling up. There could be, I would say midship would probably have some slim pickings on some of those sailings already, especially the ones that are in demand, like those double private island destination sailings or anything, holidays, any kind of spring break, things like that.
I just feel like it's so hard to plan out that far in advance. Oh my God.
And it is. One of the things that always makes me feel good about for myself or for planning for clients is that it's flexible. It's flexible like how Disney World is. You put your deposit down when you book. It's usually 20% right now up until next month. there's a promo going on for certain cruises where you can get 50% off your deposit. So that's like a rare thing that they do, but it's really good to take advantage of because it's lower cost to get in to that, you know, to have it booked. Like, I think I saw at least one cruise that was like $200 down to, to book a cruise. Like, you know, you start to, you don't have
information when we're off.
So, you know, stop recording, Molly. We're just going to have like a list of things to do for you.
Molly's going to
I'm here for it.
Take our request after this.
But, you know, maybe not exactly 200, but if you're paying $340 instead of $680, you know, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
For cruise deposit coming out of your monthly paycheck or, you know, whatever it may be. So that's really good to take advantage of. But you put that deposit down, nothing else is due on your vacation payment until it depends on the length of the sailing. So 90 days for cruises less than five nights or less. So the 3, 4, and 5 night sailings, and then 6, 7, and more are 120 days before the sailing is when your final payment is. So it's really easy to predict, right? It's not anything. And we can do payment plans if you want. Like, Disney doesn't require anything. But if you're the type of person that wants to do, you know, I want to give you X amount per month to start paying this down, chip away at it, all of the agents are willing to, you know, help with that and get it paid down that way. And so if you do plan out and something happens, you know, let's say there's a school event or something that isn't going to work that you see, or somebody made the soccer team and they're going to be in playoffs at that time. Again, far enough out before that final payment date, you can move it or cancel for a full refund of your deposit.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is really, really nice.
Because
life happens, right? But you're moving it forward or even sooner if it works for you. You have that flexibility.
I love that. And then I think one of our last questions we have for you was, honestly, we haven't really talked much about like the Europe and Alaskan cruises as well as one-way cruises. So I know one-way cruises have been popping up more and more. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah. So Disney does one-way cruises when they're repositioning their ships. So we were talking about the Dream going to Europe. So right now the Dream's sailing out of Fort Lauderdale, and it will continue to do so until now in the summer of 2026, it's going to go to Europe. So what they'll do when that change happens is they will send the Dream, and there'll be a transatlantic cruise. Oof. So they'll sell, the people can, I think it's like a 14-night cruise, and it will stop in, I don't know this, you
That's
know,
a long
in
time.
The past it's been like Portugal and, you know, different things maybe in like Spain or whatnot, and it'll go to Southampton, England, and then it'll start taking sailings out of Southampton's port.
I wonder how long those sea legs would last.
It's a long time. You have to definitely, I recommend trying a shorter cruise before if you haven't sailed before.
Take a 14-day transatlantic
cruise. It would definitely be different. I will say, so I took my first 7-night cruise this past year, and I hadn't sailed before, you know, recently, I should say. So I did the 3-night to try it out, and then was like, okay, you know, I want to try for longer. And I jumped right to 7 nights. And I was a little worried that like I would get tired of it, or I would, you know, I'd be like, I need to get off the ship. And we did, you know, go on excursions and things like that. But there was no getting tired of it because Disney is Disney. I really thought, like, I will say that I had a moment where, since I had done 3-night cruises up until that point, I had a moment where what would have been the 3rd night, normally you're leaving Castaway and you have to pack up and you have to have everything packed before dinner. And, you know, I went to dinner that night and I was like kind of panicked and I didn't know why. Like I had this like ruffled
thread of having to pack all your stuff.
Breathe. You have like 4 more nights. You're fine. Like you can enjoy yourself. So I will say, I mean, and everyone I've talked to who has done a 3-night Disney cruise, it's lovely. It's a great way to get a taste, but you're going to wish you had booked for longer. Yeah. So I do, you know, if budget is a reason, absolutely. If the 3-night gets you there, do it. If you can do 4, do 4. If you can do 7, do 7.
Yeah, I forgot about my 4th cruise. I've done 2 3s, 1 5, and 1 7. And honestly, my favorite was the 5. I loved the 5. Like that length for me was perfect. Where like my husband, he's like, no, the 7th was perfect. He's like, I don't want any less than 7. I'm like, but the 5 though.
7 can be hard to fit into like a work schedule or school schedule, because especially you should be flying down a night before if you're going to a port that you need to fly to.
Of course.
Because the ship leaves whether you're there or not. So plane trouble, there is no excuse. You have to be there. So we always recommend flying in a night before, at least staying over, and then waking up to board the ship. What my family has started to do is like, oh, well, we'll do like 2 nights before and enjoy some time wherever we're going. Yeah, we'll go to Disney before Port Canaveral and just enjoy the resort. And then 1 night after, because we don't want to get off the ship and rush back to reality. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I'm like gone for 10 days and my work is like, you're still working?
Like a 2-week event at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. I in September, I pretty much came back to work and was like, okay, what do I do again for work?
Right.
What is it?
Where am I?
But yeah, the 14-night cruise though, if you have an opportunity, because they can, Disney Cruise Line's itineraries are pretty standard year to year. Now they will change, like they just announced the 2026 ones, and some things might change around, or the ships might be going out of different ports. Like this year, the Fantasy is doing Europe, and next year the Dream is doing Europe. In 2026, it's always been Alaska has been the Wonder. In 2026, it's going to be the Wonder and the Magic. So you have different options there.
That's cool.
So like it's pretty predictable. For the most part, but then they pepper in some fun ones that, oh, I didn't know that Southern Caribbean one was going to go out of San Juan. Like, it'll just be like a random itinerary that they'll fit in. But these repositioning ones are cool because you can really get to some really fun places. And speaking of the Alaska one, when it goes from Alaska, actually the Wonder goes from Alaska to Australia. So I don't know timing, but I think right now it might be in Australia, and then coming back for the summer in Alaska. And so when it leaves Australia sailings, it'll do like the Polynesian islands along the way to Hawaii.
That's cool.
And then goes from Hawaii. Then there's a sailing that goes from Hawaii around the Hawaiian Islands up to Vancouver.
Oh my God.
Like, so they're 2 separate sailings, but like, it's not like I can't go on a 3-night, Hawaiian cruise, but you can do these repositioning ones, go to these unique places.
That's really
that people aren't necessarily thinking about. And the same thing with the European cruises. There's so many destinations that they are touching. They sail mostly out of Southampton, England, Barcelona, and Rome, I know are like 3 of the popular ones. There's more, I'm sure, but it does change like year to year sometimes based on ports, but there's like, you can sail the Greek Isles, you can go the Norwegian fjords. There's just so much. There was a sailing this year that I should have pulled the trigger on, but it went from England, it went to Brussels and Amsterdam, and then Sweden and Norway. Wow. And it was just like this,
trip that 2026 is what you're saying.
Yeah, 100%.
They have British Isles. They have, from Spain to France and Italy, and so to some people, and kind of where I'm thinking now, because I travel with my parents often, and the way we travel now is less like we did an Ireland trip where we rented a car and drove from place to place, and we could still do that, but it's more relaxing now to have somebody take us from place to place
on a Disney cruise.
If you want to see Europe, cruising in my mind is the way to do it. Now there's also there's land tours that I can help with too, but personally I think especially if you want that Disney magic, or if you want your kids to be exposed to some of this stuff maybe earlier on, because when you get off at those ports you have all of that culture there. But then when you're on the ship, you have all of the Disney magic. So yeah, that's, I think people are starting to, we're post-COVID now, and people are wanting to get out and get back into seeing the world. So
yeah, for sure.
Those are getting more and more popular.
Yeah. I love that so much. It's great.
I love it.
Well, thank you, Molly, so much for all your information.
Sure.
This has been fantastic.
I feel like I learned so much, and I work for an agency.
Right. Like I already knew so much about it, and it's like, we just learned so much more. That was awesome.
I know, it was so awesome. Well, we're going to put Molly's contact information below, so you can definitely reach out to her if you're interested in planning one of these trips. Our link is there too. If you have any general questions about traveling, we'd love to help you. Remember, working with an agent is 100% free. So you get all of Molly's expertise, which you just saw firsthand at literally no cost to you. Yep. So it's really a no-brainer. If you're thinking about a trip like this, you know who to call. We'd love to help you. Thank you so much for watching. We will be back soon with some more travel news, information, questions.
Thanks guys so much. Have a good day. Bye.